Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Rattan LF750, so let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around, if you are looking to purchase any Rattan electric bike, I'd really appreciate it if you use the link in the description before you make your purchase. It's a free and easy way to help support Ebike Escape. I believe Rattan is also giving me a $50 discount code, so that will be in the description as well. I'll also include links to our other resources, our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and finally our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. With that, let's get into the walk around of the Rattan LF750. Now, one thing I wanted to call out before we get into all the components is I have actually had this bike for quite some time. I was getting caught up on all the electric bikes that we received months ago and went to do this review, and the battery, while it showed fully charged, wasn't working. But Rattan did go ahead and send me a replacement battery, so just want to share that as someone who has dealt with the company at least a little bit, albeit from a reviewer's perspective. I always like to share as much of my experience as I can. Now, they do sell a few different models. As I mentioned, this is the LF750. They also sell an LM750, which is basically the high step model. And I believe they're using F and M to coincide with the gender. So LF being the female version, LM being the male version. But in my opinion, if you will feel more comfortable on a step-through electric bike, that's the bike that you should buy because you're going to be riding it more. It's going to be more comfortable. So step-through electric bikes are not girls' bikes. And finally, pricing. The Rattan LF750 is currently priced at $12.99, though they do run sales from time to time. So this definitely falls into affordable category as far as folding electric bikes go. Again, you can check out the link in the description and see what the current price is. Let's start with the brakes. So we have Throttle mechanical disc brakes as well as Throttle branded rotors. In the front, we have 180 millimeter rotors, and in the rear, we have 160 millimeter rotors. Now, I do have quite a bit of experience with Throttle. I view them as a name brand. Comes on many entry-level electric bikes, and they do perform really well. So really happy to see a name brand on this bike, even though it comes in at such a great price. And of course, they perform really well. Next, let's talk about the tires. So these are CST BFT tires, 20 by 4 inches wide, definitely going to add some comfort. And of course, with those knobs, you can take this bike off-road a little bit if you choose to do so. This video is sponsored by Tannis. We're really excited to have Tannis as our first sponsor here at Ebike Escape. Getting flats on an e-bike can be especially difficult to fix, so why not help prevent them in the first place? Tannis Armor inserts are inserts that go inside your tire, providing 15 millimeters of protection at the base and 2 millimeters of protection on the sidewalls.
Tannis makes purchasing the liners super simple. Simply go to their website, type in your tire size, it spits out the liners you need. Don't forget the tubes. Then you can either install them at home by yourself or take them to your local trusted bike shop. While we do know there are many e-bike manufacturers that offer Tannis tire liners on their website, if you go directly to Tannis' website, we have negotiated a discount code for Ebike Escape viewers. Discount code can be found in the description below.
Thanks to Tannis for sponsoring this video. The bike does come with front and rear fenders. I will say I would have liked to see this front fender come a little bit further down. They are plastic fenders, feel a little bit flimsy, so perhaps an improvement they can make in the future. The bike does come with a front suspension, though note that there is no lockout, and I'll go ahead and push on the handlebars so you can get an idea of what to expect. Now, usually with front suspension that has no lockout, they're super cheap components, but this one actually feels pretty good. It's going to add some comfort. It's not certainly as nice as some of the other name brand front suspensions that you can see on some electric bikes, but I was happy to see that it doesn't get super stuck for such an entry-level front fork, because a lot of times with these front suspensions, you'll have a suspension that really doesn't add anything, and then it ends up just adding additional unnecessary weight to an electric bike instead of adding more comfort. We do have an integrated light up front. As with most of these integrated lights, they do provide some visibility, a little bit more at night, of course, and I always recommend if you're using your electric bike a lot during the day, riding on busy roads, I really recommend rechargeable external lights that you can put on your handlebar, though it is nice that they have an integrated light nonetheless. I always like to call out the cable management, and I actually like what Rattan has done here. They have this neoprene sleeve with a zipper, and it keeps the cables all nicely into one bundle here, of course, going down to the light and the mechanical disc brakes, and then some cables run internally through the frame, and then others run along what I'll call the down tube here. Towards the end of this walk around, I will go ahead and fold it, but this is a very similar clasp that we see on many folding electric bikes. Of course, the handlebars fold down, and then you can fold the pedals, and then fold the frame in half. I do like when companies include these little sticky pads here to help protect the frame when you're closing the latch. The rest of the setup with the handlebars is fairly standard for what we see on many folding electric bikes. It does have a slight swoop here, but then we do have a quick release lever to raise the handlebars. Again, you do need to be aware of the minimum insertion point so you don't lift these too high. But of course, that adjustment is nice if you're a taller rider and want your handlebars a little bit further up. Let's move on to the cockpit here. We have some rubber grips, non-locking. Don't expect them at a bike priced at this price point, but I do like that they have the palm rest that adds some comfort as well. We have Rattan branded levers. As I mentioned, we have Tektro mechanical disc brakes, but Rattan levers. And these actually feel pretty good paired with those Tektro brakes. Of course, they have the motor cutoff as well, so as soon as you hit the brakes, it's going to kill power to the motor. Let's move on to the right side. We have a right-hand twist grip throttle. I personally prefer twist grip throttles over thumb throttles. We have a Shimano 7-speed cis index thumb shifter. This is a common component that we see on many of the more affordable electric bikes, and even some priced closer to $2,000. Gets the job done, but definitely an entry-level Shimano component, though a name brand nonetheless. Let's move on to the controls and display. Left-hand side controls, pedal assist up and down. M button is going to turn that display on. I did go ahead and turn the brightness up slightly on this display, though in daylight it actually looks really good. One of the better displays in my opinion. We have power, your battery capacity in the top. We have speed front and center, pretty easy to read. We have the pedal assist level, again 0 through 5. I believe you can customize this in the advanced settings. You can check out their manual on their website. And then you also have the wattage, which I really like. As the name implies, this is a 750 watt nominal motor, and I've seen this up just over 1,000 watts. We do have odometer in the bottom, as well as trip and time. And something unique about this electric bike is it has cruise control, and I'll show you how that works in the first-person riding footage that's coming up after this. Let's move on to the rest of the bike here. So we have this stand here. If you're not familiar with folding electric bikes, this is where the bike can stand on when it is folded. Again, I'll show you that in a little bit. We have plastic folding pedals here. I like to see the metal ones just from a durability perspective, but these are just fine. And if you don't want folding pedals or you don't plan to fold it, you can opt for some with a bigger platform as well, made out of metal. Really, whatever you want, you can customize the color as well. The kickstand is located towards the rear, no chance of the pedals coming in contact with it. That's nice when you're moving around the electric bike, perhaps in your apartment or maybe your garage. As I already showed off, some of these cables are external here. You can see they're zip tied to the frame for the brake in the rear here. And of course, we have the battery. I think it's cool that they actually painted the battery case to match the rest of the bike. And this is a 48 volt, 13 amp hour battery, which I would say for the price is actually pretty good. You can see it's in its on position here, but you can also turn it off so the bike doesn't turn on. And then if you want to unlock the battery, which I'll remove it here in a second, you push the key in and turn it all the way to the left, and then you can remove the key. Just to note that the key does need to be on the on position and it cannot be removed when you're riding the bike. We do have some indicators on the top here. When you hit this, it does give you an idea of battery capacity. And there is a nice little handle here as well, helps in removing the battery. I'll go ahead and remove the battery. Now what I've been doing is just simply removing the seat post just to get it out of the way. That's of course a quick release as well. And then as I mentioned, you have this nice handle. You can simply lift the battery up. There's a charger port here. Again, can be charged both on and off the bike. The way the battery stays secured here is there's this metal plate here, and this is actually what the battery slides on. And then there is a hole here on this plate, and that's actually how the battery locks to the frame, if you will. You can see the pin actually comes out. Now, I don't think that's high security for the battery, though it is security nonetheless, I guess. I'll go ahead and put the battery back. It does fit around the seat tube here. And then you just have to be careful when you are turning on the bike that it's actually lined up perfectly with that locking hole. Sometimes you need to adjust the battery ever so slightly so it locks into place. While we're here, let's talk about the seat. I would say this is a slightly above average seat. Again, if you want something more comfortable, check out our full electric bike accessories list in the description. They've also included a suspension seat post. This is a very cheap suspension seat post. You can feel it a little bit, but again, if you want more comfort, definitely get one of our recommended ones. You'll definitely appreciate the increased comfort over something cheaper like this. Now, something to be aware of if you're looking at this electric bike, it's really made, at least from the manufacturer, for shorter riders. I'm actually going to put the seat post at its minimum insertion height here. So when you're watching the third person riding footage towards the end of this video, I'm 6 feet tall and the seat already is in its highest position. And I would personally raise the seat higher if I could. Again, something to be aware of size-wise. My wife, who's 5'5", feels a little bit more comfortable on this electric bike. But one of the nice things is if you are on the shorter side, this bike will fit you a lot better than some of the other huge electric bikes that we see on the market. Moving on to the rear of the bike, you can see we have a matching rear fender. Again, a 160 millimeter rotor in the rear and the Throttle mechanical disc brakes. We have a frame-mounted rear rack, though they decided to put a cushion on it, but then they don't really recommend that you put a person back here. I emailed them asking them about this, and they basically told me that they don't recommend putting someone back here. Now, I did give it a try with my wife, and I would say it was not very comfortable for me to ride it. There's no real good place to put your feet. There's no room to mount foot pegs or screw-in foot pegs, so maybe you could come up with a DIY option. And then the other challenge is that there's no plastic guard here that we see on many cargo electric bikes to prevent any clothing or feet kind of getting stuck in the rear wheel. So maybe this seat will work for smaller riders, though do so at your own risk. On the back of the rear rack, we have an integrated tail light, and it is actuated by the brakes, which I really like. And it is fairly bright for a rear light. A lot of times we see lights in the rear that you pretty much can't see at all during the daylight, but this one is pretty good. And of course, when you turn on the lights, the rear light will go on, and then if you hit the brakes, it will go a little bit brighter, or there are additional LEDs to make it a little bit brighter. So actually, pretty big fan of this rear light. Moving on to the other side of the bike, again, 750 watt nominal, 1000-ish watt peak motor. Stay tuned to see just how powerful this motor really is. In the rear, we have a 14 to 28 tooth freewheel, and in the front, really like this decision. They went with a 52 tooth front chain ring. It is double-sided to help protect your pants and, of course, the cogs. Now, what a bigger chain ring does is it allows you to provide your own power when you're riding at higher speeds. For a derailleur, again, this is a 7-speed Shimano tourney rear derailleur. On the basic side as far as Shimano components go, but again, happy to see at least a name brand, and there is a barrel adjuster in case you need to make any adjustments. Again, we have some of those exposed cables here running along the frame, and they did not put a protector here on the chainstay. I always like to put some 3M clear tape here. It's on our electric bike accessories list, and that'll just keep a frame that looks nice like this. At least I really like this color. Keeps the frame looking nice, and you can put it wherever there's cable rub or on the rear chainstay to keep your frame looking really nice. There's a close look at where some of those cables come out of the bottom here. I actually imagine that the controller is built in right beneath the battery. And we're gonna fold this bike in just a second, but here is the latch, and lifting this up will allow you to pull the latch up and then of course fold the bike. Let's go ahead and fold the Rattan LF750. I'll start with the pedals here. Not absolutely necessary, but I'm going to lower the seat post. And then of course we have the handlebars. Fold those down. You do want to make sure the bike is off. And then again, the main latch right here. Now, what I found with a lot of these folding electric bikes, I like to position the left pedal facing slightly downward, and that seems to keep it out of the way a little bit better. So now we can go ahead and fold the bike, and I do also find that kind of using my leg to brace helps fold the bike. I can put the kickstand up as well and kind of just bring the bike together, and it should sit really nicely on that stand. Now, if you're wondering, yes, this bike does fit in to our infamous tub here, an accessory that I highly recommend if you're looking at purchasing a folding electric bike. We'll put the dimensions of this tub on the screen in case you're looking at purchasing a folding electric bike. This fits almost every folding electric bike that I've reviewed. And of course, what's nice is once it's in the tote, you can simply have two people, one person carry each side, makes it much easier to carry. Or if you just want to do it yourself, you can lift it as well. All right, with that, let's get into the first person riding footage and put the 750 watt motor to the test. Okay, first person riding footage on the Rattan LF750. So our first test will be throttle only, and just a note that the throttle power does coincide with the pedal assist level, so I do have it all the way up in pedal assist level 5 to give me maximum power. I have the speedometer app by Coolnix here to give us GPS speed and compare that to the main display. Another thing that I wanted to note is that the bike comes pretty much overridden, unlocked. I did increase it a little bit to 50 kilometers an hour, just in case it would go a little bit faster, but I was still seeing the max speed even after I received it. And of course, you can turn that down to follow all your local laws and regulations. Remember, a Class 2 electric bike is going to top out at 20 miles per hour with the throttle. All right, here we go. Throttle only, pedal assist level 5, 3, 2, 1, go. There's 4, 8, 20, and slight uphill here, 22, 23, 24, according to the GPS, 25 for a second. Looks like it's topping out at around 24 though, 23, right around there. Display is showing me a little bit lower, 22 miles an hour. So definitely a capable motor. And it's saying it's using about 500-ish watts right now. And holding me steady at about 23 or just a little bit over. Now let's go ahead and go into the other throttle levels, I'll call them. Pedal assist level 4, giving us about 18 or so. Pedal assist level 3, giving us about 15, 12, 15, 13, right around there. Let's go into pedal assist level 2. As we slow down here, I'll hit the brakes. That's keeping us at about 10 miles an hour or so. 12. And pedal assist level 1. I think is going to be about 6 miles an hour or so. 8, 9, right around there. Now, if you were paying attention carefully, you may have noticed me hitting the brakes in between those, and that is because this bike has a cruise control that I haven't seen before on an electric bike. Usually the bikes that have cruise control, the way you enable it is you hold the throttle and then you hold the pedal assist level down button, and then it'll hold you at that speed. But the way this one works is you just hold the throttle, and wherever you're at is where it kind of keeps you at. You can see we're going about 10 miles an hour now. So if I hit the brakes, of course, that's going to override it. I'll show you again here. Pedal assist level 3. And again, if I just let go of the throttle now, it's just gonna hold me there, which is nice, I guess, if you have sensitive wrists, but something you for sure need to be aware of if you're looking at purchasing this electric bike. I kind of found out on my own. I'm sure it's in the manual, which is why I always recommend you reading them. But people who aren't aware that that's a feature, I could see that it could cause some issues. Okay, now I turned pedal assist off, and I do get the question somewhat frequently, can you pedal whatever electric bike I'm reviewing with no assist? And usually the answer is yes, you're just not going to go very fast. I'm in 5th gear, 4th gear, going about 7 miles an hour. So it's definitely doable. You're just not going to go very fast. And of course, hills are going to be a significant challenge with the additional heavy weight of an electric bike. Okay, next I wanted to go through the various pedal assist levels, and I'm actually going to just quickly shift all the way down here, and I'm going to come to a complete stop and put in pedal assist level 1. This bike has some pep. I went into the advanced settings and it looked like you could change the sensitivity of how fast the motor gets going, but it didn't seem to make a big difference. Maybe if you own this electric bike, you can let us know in the comment section below, but hopefully that comes through on video here. I'll just give the bike one pedal stroke or so, and there's the motor just kicking on a little bit. So maybe a little bit more power than some people would prefer. I think it's something you can get used to, but I just wanted to point it out. So pedal assist level 1, going about 8 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour. I could shift up here actually, 3rd gear, maybe even 4th gear. I like to put some of my own power in while still, just pedaling at a leisurely cadence. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 2. Definitely felt the motor a little bit more there. So it just gets up to speed faster, really, with the motors. Kind of what I wanted to get across with starting from a stop. Maybe even 5th gear here, going about 12 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3. Still in 5th gear, faster cadence, maybe could go to 6th gear. Going about 15 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. Again, feel that motor kick on here. Going about 18 miles an hour, and I would probably shift up to 7th gear here. And remember, we do have that 52 tooth front chain ring. So let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 5 here. Again, the display is reading a little bit slower. Pedal assist level 5, and really that's, it's giving me all the power for sure of the motor. Going about 24 miles an hour. Display is reading 22 or so. Now, I will say, I'm not quite ghost pedaling, but it's taking some effort to spin my legs fast enough to provide my own effort to the bike. But they did their best, of course, with that 52 tooth front chain ring. I guess you could have a 11 cog in the rear though. So 23, 24 miles per hour. Not surprising given what this bike did on throttle alone. And if I come to a stop here, I'm just gonna hit the throttle. 900 watts is kind of the max I've seen. There's 1,000 watts. And I've seen it just over 1,000 watts. 1,024 I think I just saw. So that's the max output of the motor. So that's how the bike performs on flat ground, but let's get into our hill climb test and see what this 750 watt motor can do. Okay, time for the hill climb test. This hill looks so much smaller on the GoPro than it is in real life, so we'll throw a picture of the hill on the screen as well as the specs. Our first test will be throttle only. Again, I already have it in pedal assist 5, so we're getting maximum power. And I have to imagine that this bike is going to have no problem going up the hill on throttle alone. Looks like we're hitting 25 miles an hour as the hill begins to start. Going down to 20 here. 18. 16. And I really view anything around 14, 15 as the minimum speed is really impressive. So I think I saw 15 was the lowest so far. So for the price of this electric bike, motor power, if you're just looking at motor power, this motor is very powerful, I would say. And I will also note I did charge the battery up all the way before I started this ride. And there we go, at the top of the hill, no problem. But I always recommend pedaling, get some exercise, save some battery. So I'm gonna go do the test again while pedaling. Okay, we're gonna go up the hill while pedaling. Just gonna give myself a little bit of throttle and turn the pedal assist down and shift down into gears, into first gear. And I almost hit 30 miles an hour on the way down, and then I pretty heavily used the brakes and no problem getting me to a stop. So pretty big fan of these mechanical disc brakes. All right, hill is really just starting now. And in first gear and pedal assist 1, I could probably make it up, but it would be a pretty significant workout. And I'm not in an optimal riding position to get full leg extension, but I could do it. And of course I could slow my cadence down. We're going about 7 miles an hour, but I would probably go up. Let's go into pedal assist level 2. There we go, using about 600 watts now, just shy of 600 watts. Could probably shift up into second gear. Again, keeping cadence where I'm providing some power, but not too much. Going about 10 miles an hour. All right, let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3. Definitely feel the motor kick on there, hitting 800, 750 watts or so, right around there. I would shift up fourth gear, maybe even fifth gear. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. Again, you can hear that motor likely in the video, hitting about 15 miles an hour. Could probably go in the sixth gear here. And we're using 860 watts, 860 watts. Pedal assist level 5. And of course, we know this bike is plenty powerful. Now it's hitting right around 1,000 watts. And of course, I could go up into seventh gear if I wanted to. So yes, very powerful up this hill. With that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on this electric bike. When I get e-bikes from brands I haven't reviewed before, I never know what to expect. For a $12.99 e-bike, the Rattan LF750 is a nice little budget e-bike. I say little because as someone who is 6 feet tall, I'm pushing it to get full leg extension on this bike. That's good news for shorter riders looking for something accessible frame-wise. Speaking of the frame, this frame design isn't especially unique, but if you're shopping for other folding e-bikes, there are trade-offs to consider depending on your needs. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but on this e-bike, the battery is located behind the seat tube, which makes it easier to remove than, say, a battery located inside the frame, which requires you to fold the bike at least slightly to remove the battery. But a frame integrated battery is also more protected. Like I said, trade-offs. I like the paint colors offered on the LF750, especially this unique purple color, and of course the step-through design. The rear seat is a bit of a head scratcher since the company doesn't even recommend putting a rider on the rear, but that didn't stop us from giving it a try. Do so at your own risk. I'll say it was a bit of a challenge. I didn't know where to put my feet, and we were surely close to exceeding the weight capacity, though that didn't stop the motor. Component-wise, the bike is well spec'd, name brand Tektro mechanical disc brakes that work well, Shimano components, and a decent LCD display. Not necessarily things that are given at this price point. The 48 volt 13 amp hour battery is slightly below the average 14 amp hours we normally see, but the price is also below average too. The included suspension seat post is the only component here that leaves a lot to be desired, so for future reference, there are some phenomenal suspension seat posts that significantly increase comfort. Check out our electric bike accessories list for all of our recommendations. I'll chalk this one up to Rattan like other e-bike brands, just wanting to tick every box to differentiate the bike. Really, my only hesitation on this bike is the power of the motor, or really the acceleration, which all is programmed into the controller. Now, it's certainly not lacking in power as it crushed our hill climb test, but the controller, in my opinion, needs to be tweaked to give a slower start from the factory. For new e-bike riders, I could see this being a problem as it really can jolt you from a start. But if you're looking for a powerful folding e-bike, the Rattan LF or LM750 is worth a look. While I can't speak to the customer service, it was nice that the company had extra batteries on hand to send me a replacement. They do seem to have a following though, so be sure to check out their Facebook group that has over 2,000 members. If you have other experience with the company, let us know in the comment section below. And be sure to check out the link in the description if you do plan to buy an e-bike from Rattan and want to help support the channel. Thank you so much for your support, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.